Yeah.
What is up, humanoids? I'm in Long Beach, California with the boss and Jeff Mikut, lead designer at New Balance Numeric. And we're going to talk about this 933 Reynolds shoe. That the most anticipated shoe, I think, in skateboarding in a very long time. You guys hear that a lot?
Yeah, we've been hearing that quite a bit.
Everyone's like, when's the shoe coming? When's the shoe coming? When's the shoe coming? How long does a process like that take?
How long did that take? I think like initially it wasn't the discussion.
Yeah.
It was more, we were just talking about, when we first started talking, it was about just shoes and like how to make the right shoe, which shoe's best for him. But from like start to finish, I want to say it was about maybe like 18 to 20 months, I'd say.
Yeah.
Is that normal? It's pretty normal. I think for a shoe with this much technology, you usually try to go 24 to 30 months. It makes sense. A little bit more time. So.
Yeah. We've been talking about this shoe for over a year. We came out here January, over a year ago, talked about this shoe, and one of the cool things is like all the lore that's behind it. It's almost like this little adventure to, like Andrew shows up, he wants to build a shoe, he's got like a sack of cut up shoes, and he's like, it's like when you had all those cut up shoes, like what were you looking for in a shoe? What was missing and what?
I mean, the one thing that skating in shoes from my first America shoe and then everything after that, all the way up until skating in half cabs at Reynolds. One thing I knew for sure is that what felt best under my feet was built like this. It's like a cup sole shoe with a built-in midsole.
Right.
So that's the one thing I knew right away. I'm going to look for what shoes out there are made this way.
And you were like measuring foam.
Yeah, I kind of knew, but when you cut open a Tiago, or this is an 808 or a Tyshawn from Adidas, this is kind of somewhat standard. But the more I tried stuff and kind of learned about different foams and materials, I did start to notice, if you go from a 51 to a 55 in wheel,
right,
you're like, whoa, this is way different.
Huge.
Yeah, so I started to kind of notice, thinking about it a lot and doing a lot of research, I did notice, okay, the front of a 440, I love the way it looks, but the front part is too thin for my foot. Yeah, so that's really the one thing I was looking for if I have to pick. That was other stuff too, but that I knew, okay, where does this exist? And then I after looking around, the Tiago 1010 was the one that was built this way.
Cool.
One shoe. I think in a Tyshawn.
Pretty crazy.
Yeah, and out of everybody, one. And I was like,
so it wasn't just new. You were cutting a ton.
Yeah, I cut open some DC links. I cut open all the Vans. I cut open everything that I had skated in previously and had worked because I would find ways to get this, and then you got to add this in. All of that.
Right.
Which, if you feel that, might be a lot for most people. This is even, we went a little thinner. I think we got a little thinner than the 808 because the 808 was on the extreme side for me.
Right. Yeah.
And the 1010 was pretty much right. But I think this foam, you could lose a little and still get the same result.
So you're right up to a 1010 almost.
Yeah. So, but then I cut open all the stuff I'd skated in Old Americas I love, my pro shoe, Vans half cabs with the insoles that I was skating in, footprint insoles.
Yeah.
And I would stack them up and kind of, before I got on New Balance, I would say, okay, well, if I put this insole in a half cab, then it's going to add up to what I'm used to.
Right.
It wasn't perfect, but I would make it work.
Were you as involved in the process from day one? Like with your very first signature shoe, were you as involved?
Definitely. I showed him the drawing. The drawing's somewhere around here, like a hand-drawn. It looks just like this. Honestly, it looks just...
Are these Jeff's drawings or are these your drawings?
Some of his, some of mine.
Okay.
But if it looks like this, it's probably mine. But I have basically this exact thing from my first shoe.
That's so cool.
A hand-drawn kind of basic idea with a bunch of things that, it'll say like the Templeton in the front,
Right, right.
something like
Yeah,
that, just so
yeah.
I know where
Yeah.
I'm heading.
Mhm.
Yeah, so I was pretty involved, but back then I think it was more. I didn't know so much about what I wanted to feel like.
Right.
I only knew an S Muska fits,
Yeah.
and I love the way it feels. And an Ed Templeton 2, maybe, I don't know which one. I had skated in a bunch of them. It had like that like window with like almost like a line through it.
Yeah. I don't know the number though.
Yeah, there was a Templeton America and there was a S Muska shoe that both had rubber toe caps. There was a lot of rubber toe caps at the time. Loved them.
There was
So
a lot
like,
of synthetics back then.
yeah, it was really cool.
Yeah.
I guess with a rubber toe, it doesn't really
Exactly.
matter much. But I love Muskas, and I'm like, if it's like this and just looks different, then I'll be happy.
Yeah. Has your idea of what shoe design ends up like now, is that like evolved with your skateboarding? Like the Reynolds 3 was a Volk shoe. That would probably, I can't remember, but that would probably kill my feet now.
No, check this
Obviously
out.
You're looking for something.
I told somebody this. I don't even know if this. The Reynolds 3 was probably one of my best-selling shoes.
Yeah.
Ever. It was just the right time when Volk came back and everybody wanted Volk. I had that one session. I went to this school called Locking Out. I was going to do a line and try to switch flip the stairs.
Mm-hmm.
I kicked away to my feet in the Volk like probably 5 times. Never skated them again. And that's the one that sold the best. So it kind of it registered with me from that point on. I don't know. It didn't change the way I did anything. It didn't change the shoes I skated in or design. I mean, I didn't skate Volks, but
Right.
it didn't change the way I felt about designing a shoe or anything. It just dawned on me. Okay, well, I guess I don't really necessarily need to. It's not all about me skating in it. A bunch of people buy it because they like it.
Yeah.
So I was like, huh, interesting. The one I didn't skate was the best-selling one. But so all those little things like that led me to kind of know, okay, cups work for me, check.
Yeah.
The thicker shoes from the early 2000s. I like the feeling of kick-flipping with a big-ass boot. I like that feeling.
Yeah.
So like, it's just all those things that over years and years and years of skating different shoes and skating, you kind of build up, like a list of things.
Yeah.
These work for
It's
me.
a learning process
Yeah.
the whole time. Yeah. Is there anything from your first shoe to now that kind of carries over from?
I mean, I guess if anything, it's the fact that I'm more used to a shoe that when I do a heel flip or a back heel or a switch heel, that my toes don't curl over the side of the board.
Okay.
I don't want to use my feet.
You don't want a gorilla grip.
No.
Yeah.
But it works for a lot of people, and I understand the people that do that really well. They're like, Shane O'Neill's like using his feet like hands.
Right.
It's amazing to watch.
That's interesting.
But I don't use my feet that way.
Okay.
Like I describe it like if you're walking in the sand at the beach for too long barefoot, your feet start to get like really worn out.
Yeah.
Because you're not used to
Tired,
using
yeah.
all those. And I'm not used to that in a skate shoe. I want the shoe to do a lot of the work.
A lot of pros are going to have that inevitable chance of having their signature on a shoe, and it's such a big deal. So all the things that you've learned along that process, or that you've probably learned working with athletes, like how could we as an industry direct those signature athletes in a way that when they're skating, they're thinking about the product that they're going to make or how their feet work. Well, just what you said versus what Shane O'Neill does, like you skate differently. How could we train those athletes to like think forward? So when we're getting a signature product, that it has some intention behind it, like where, like you brought up, like the Reynolds Cruiser is basically an authentic, but like so many pros will bring, I just want to skate a Vans authentic.
Yeah.
But it's like you're not bringing anything new to the market. So like, what can you make different, and how can we have like that mindset in more pros, so that when they are ready to develop a shoe, they're like, this is what we need. I'm going to make the authentic, but it's going to be way sicker.
Right.
It's
right.
like,
I mean, I think it takes both sides, right? It's the skater and the designer,
Engineer.
or brand.
Yeah.
You have to Andrew just brought so much direction to this project. It helped, and we had our like lane, and we kept an open book with everyone in our building and your friend group. And I think we just, I don't know. I think for like, to answer your question more directly, like if there's a new skater that's getting a shoe, I don't think the best angle is showing up and being like, I want this.
Right.
It's more like, say with this project, we started with like, what are the things that we want to solve for?
Right.
And the way he approached it is he had all these cut in half shoes. He's like, I like this, but this bothers me. What if we did this? And that what if kind of started to formulate a foundation for the whole project.
Right.
And then we started tapping into the aesthetic.
Yeah.
So we like solved for function first and then went into design, or more so like the aesthetic visuals, right? So I think like, if there was advice, I suppose is almost what this question is.
Yeah.
For
like,
future generations.
Yeah.
It's like start with what you're, find out, like lay out on the table what you like, and then dissect those and learn from what aspects of which product benefits you in your skating.
Right.
And then do make something. Like at the end of the day, we don't just regurgitate it like
Exactly.
like this brand's shoe, this logo goes there, and it's just the same thing on the
Right.
market.
It almost feels like a template.
Right.
Like we bought this shoe, can you put our logo on it or something like
And
that?
I'd say
we don't want
most
that
of
all the time.
most of the 2010s all the way through 2020, it just like the bulk space was just every brand had a bulk shoe, 2 to 3 panels, some quarter centered logo, and it was just really when you walk into a store, you just be like, there's a sea of the same,
Yep.
And I'm really stoked to see footwear this last 4 or 5 years has really just widened out again.
Right.
I think cupsoles and these more dynamic shoes are just bringing more uniqueness, and I think it brings people that don't skate back into skate shoes too, right?
Yeah.
It's not just a bunch of the same things.
Yeah.
So,
Do you think cup soles kind of lend themselves to being, I guess, a more creative canvas?
Totally.
Yeah.
I mean,
Why is that?
Well, like a Volk shoe, you're starting out with like 50% of your shoe is already done.
Yeah.
You have this flat sole. You could maybe taper it. You could change a texture, put a stripe on it. But the amount of molding and details and colors you can add to a cup sole, it's just from just a strictly aesthetic standpoint, you have a lot more things to kind of add into that space.
Yeah. And I mean, you're looking at like, what, 3 different foams just right here.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. And I mean, the downside is it's more expensive, so I think it's harder for some brands to kind of push it all that way. But just from a longevity standpoint, as we're all kind of getting, just trying to make skateboarding last as long as we possibly
Yeah, for
can.
sure.
It's these shoes are always just cupsoles tend to be from our research and our experiences, they just make your body feel better and last.
Yeah.
This is very specific to me and somebody who probably did most of my skating in thicker shoes.
Yeah.
So you're gonna love it.
Yeah, I think I am gonna love it. I haven't even tried it on yet, but I think
No,
I'm
it's.
gonna like
I think
it.
I think we got because I went in and this is kind of one of the shoes where as soon as I got on New Balance, I started ordering all the vintage 990s and all the runners made in UK and all this cool stuff. And I put these on, I go about my day, and I'm like, it's so comfortable just to put it on. I'm like, I would skate in it if it wasn't like made like this.
Right. Yeah.
Because I just want it to be comfortable, just to put on.
Yeah.
Like the first time I put it on, I'm like, oh, nothing's pressing in my foot. There's no weird. It's not hard. So we really tried to get it, close to the board, but comfortable.
Yeah.
And if you look and like really look at,
Yeah.
this is
very similar.
This is the design, but this design has been done from New Balance 20 different times on all different models of shoe. This shifts, this moves, this overlaps in a different way than that. This window goes over, and so knowing that, I think me and Jeff were like, okay, these are a good template.
Yeah.
But we can't make it look like that.
Right.
We gotta make it skatable. Otherwise there would have been a big window here.
Yeah.
And this would have been down, there would have been a runner. Because at one point, I remember I was telling you, like, I want mine to go really thin like a runner. And you're like, well, then it's just going to look like that.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, you're right.
Well, some of the early samples, like this one over here, they're like green, and it has like almost like a little.
Yeah, because we were like,
right there. Almost,
I noticed a lot of the ones I like had window, and I'm like,
what do you put right there?
Yeah, I just wanted that. To me, it was like some kind of balance.
Yeah.
You know, and we almost actually we're gonna try to leave mesh there and there,
Right.
but common sense said don't do it. Don't do it. You know, do what works. So it was like a lot of inspiration from these 991s, 992s, and 993s, early 990 V6. I didn't know any of this stuff until I got with New Balance. Like you learn a new language.
Because you had colorways in the 808 and the 480.
The 480.
Or how would you compare the 933 to those two shoes? I know we kind of.
After doing all this talking about the shoe, and Jeff talked about the internal stuff, is I don't want to sit here and be like, you're gonna put these on and your whole life is gonna change.
Right.
It's rubber. It's some really good foam, and it's suede. It's a very nice shoe. But a 1010, a 480, and an 808 are all built in a certain way. They're built like this. There's some cool. We did some really cool things in it.
Yeah.
But it's it's a built-up quality skate shoe.
That's kind of why I review things the way I review things, where I'm like, this is what it is. This is the foam that's in it. This has got this, but like, don't ask me to tell you how good it is or how it skates, because we're gonna have different opinions.
Yeah, that's subjective at the end of the day, right?
Mm-hmm. It's like I, as a shop owner, don't carry things I don't believe in. So it's like you're buying the things you like and the things you believe in. So everything I'm reviewing, I feel like it's good and it has value, but it might not all be what I want to skate.
Yeah, like if you're used to a paper thin, board feel, floppy shoe and you like that, you're probably not gonna, maybe you could get used to it, but you're probably not gonna like that as much.
Yeah.
But if you come from a place of, skating, I'd say dunks, if you're skating dunks, or if you're skating some 480s, or even some, any thicker cup, then it might be something that people really like. And for me, I know when I put it on after we were done, I couldn't find anything wrong.
I think the difference in your shoe is that it's lighter than every shoe you've made in that space. But there's a different feeling I get with your shoe that's just a little softer in terms of like how, I don't know, from my experiences, I bet it's a very versatile shoe. I can walk to the coffee shop, feel comfortable, go skate, feel comfortable, and at the end of the day, I don't like look down and be like, I wish I would have switched shoe for shoe, right? It's to me, it's kind of like it handles all of those tasks very well.
That's cool.
That's kind of like the layman's. I'm not gonna, the technical side is like, we learned a lot from his experience with 808 and 1010, and like those were our foundations in 480. We trialed different things. We trialed different rubber densities, foam densities, and he just started like kind of literally making lists like this of like what's right, what's wrong, green shoe details, and all of these basically helped us, I guess, set up the parameters for like the choices we made in here.
Yeah.
And to Andrew's point, we didn't go like make a giant stack of a shoe or anything. It's pretty close in terms of internal heights. But the one thing I think we found when making this is it's fusing two different foams together to create some sort of like unique underfoot experience, and having your foot sits in a cup, like not just a little bit, but if you grab that midfoot, you can see how deep this midsole is. Like this is, you have shoe protecting you on all sides, and you're anchored in. I've heard this from a couple of people with 480s and stuff, where they might feel like they're sitting a little high and they feel like they can roll their ankle. This thing's like built outwardly, so your heel stability, the way your foot sits in here is just really different than some of those other shoes.
Right, and that green foam, that's softer than the
softer. And the properties of this foam are for absorption of impact, right?
Yeah.
So they lack energy return. We call it like foam deadening in a way, right? Like when you land in it, it's not going to shoot that stuff up into your knees and hips. And then on the sides, it's a lighter weight foam, and it's firmer, so it helps like just bank your foot back into place. Just keeping you kind of structured. And the beauty is like we removed all that extra rubber that would essentially be going around to reduce weight. So the result's just a lighter weight shoe.
Yeah,
it's cool.
So what's your favorite part?
I mean, I'd say my all of it.
Yeah.
To be honest, because there isn't anything while designing it. If me and Jeff were said we want a thick tongue like a old early 2000s,
Yeah.
probably everybody would have went for it.
Yeah.
You know, so I mean, it's down to over time you learn. Okay, I want the foam to be about 6 millimeters, and if I would get a sample back, and it would be all paper thin, and the shoe would be choked. I'm like, maybe we go a little thicker on the tongue.
Yeah.
Oh, I want tongue straps to keep the tongue centered.
Yeah.
When I look down, I want to see that because I feel like that looks like a New Balance.
Yeah.
That's a big part of it. I wanted it to look like a New Balance.
Yeah.
And a lot of my friends already, they'll see me in the park and they'll think I'm skating something like this.
Right.
They're like, oh shit, you're skating runners? And I'm like, no, this is mine. All those little details, the runner toe and the split in the sole. Yeah, looking down and seeing that traditional New Balance, those 2 lines from that New Balance, the runner toe, that it, like where I kickflip just happens to be like right there. It's like a target, right there. I'm like, that was kind of almost an accident.
That's cool.
I started kickflipping on the wear test. I'm like, oh wow, this thing flicks nice. The smaller end, I really like that. I think we got it all.
That's it.
I mean, it was months of like obsessing on the minutia of this project.
Yeah, like even at the very end, me and Jeff were going over these curves right here to kind of make it all make sense, which a lot of people aren't gonna even know. If this end was really big, or wait, where's your little tiny baby end? You're gonna see it and you're like, no.
Yeah.
So those things were obvious. You would see a line. Okay, this needs to be changed. And we just did every one.
Mm-hmm.
We just kept doing it.
I mean, there's quite a bit of difference in those 2 samples.
This was the
Just
first
feel.
one that we saw.
Yeah, when I look
in
at
real
that, I'm
form.
like, oh,
Yeah.
thank God. No, let me see that really ugly one.
What's crazy is you said when I see it, I can feel the differences and I can go,
Let me look at that.
yeah, this isn't great.
If this was in
But
your
like,
shop,
I feel
would be
like
mad.
your normal customer would not even be able to tell.
They
you
would.
the difference.
They would
Maybe.
walk right by that thing.
Maybe you're right.
No,
I think that attention to detail is what has made that so much better, because so many people would have just been like, oh, this is it.
Yeah, honestly, that's a great point. I think there's a point from a design and skater perspective that like you can't stop at. Like it's exciting to see your drawing come to real form, right? And then you have to dissect the real form to get it perfected, and it takes. I mean, we probably did 8 rounds after that, right?
oh yeah.
I mean, if not more. I don't know the number, but yeah, there's a lot of.
It was just a lot of little tiny stuff that like, I can already see. So I go to Boston. This is on the table. I'm excited. The New Balance is giving me a pro shoe.
Right.
It's insane. We have all these great people to work with. I want to take full advantage of the situation and make it look fresh and be what I want to skate in. So I see this on the table. I'm like, okay, all right, let's.
I was sitting right here too. I was looking at it and I was like, shit.
No.
Well, you probably feel the same way as a designer,
Yeah.
because CADs are way different than.
But I also didn't get to see it first. So they got it in Boston. I hadn't seen it, so he got to see it at the same time as me. So I didn't have any of my thoughts or revisions or like suggestions, and I'm watching him like Rolodex these like this emotions. And I'm like,
No, but
happy,
complete-
sad, like what's going on over there?
No, completely stoked, but I felt like, which there was. We have a timeline.
Right.
At some point, they're going to tell me, okay, you have to stop tweaking. You can't mess with the shoe anymore. So I'm just like looking at it, knowing what we probably have 9 months from that point or something.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, let's just get to work. Like, I'm stoked, yes.
Yeah.
But a lot of this looks great.
Yeah. It's crazy because it is very similar, but as soon as you pick it up, you're like, wait, what?
Yeah, I mean, even if you just look at the thickness of the
This
CR
is all-
device on the back compared to that, like there was we'd shake it by 1.2 millimeters.
Yeah, this
just
is
like
all-
slendering things up,
Like, this is
that-
like really long and like curved. It's just a.
Yeah.
I mean, this color doesn't help things. But.
Is that a privilege that like maybe you haven't New Balance that, because I imagine like every iteration is pretty expensive.
I think the tooling. So when you're doing soles, this is the expensive part. When you're doing the upper portion, it's not too bad. As expensive.
Yeah.
Unless you're doing molded parts, right? So that's when you're like investing in like a mold to create a piece.
Yeah.
In this instance, this is a rapid mold, so it's actually just like like aluminum mold, and this is all polyurethane.
Yeah.
So this would never be skatable, but we got to see it in a visual form and be able to like bend it and see how some of the details were working.
Crazy. They said that back at designing before, they couldn't do that. If you saw the sole on the computer, maybe you could do some kind of rotating and stuff of it, but you had to decide on your sole without actually seeing it. Now they make a full fake. What is that?
Yeah, polyurethane, so PU.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
not even a real sole. They just make that only so we could hold
So
it
you can
and see
visualize
it.
it.
Yeah.
Okay.
But you really know. And I think from this one, what we did, remember we made it dip down more?
Yeah, we did like the S curve, right? We added some of the heel and took some from the
Yeah,
toe.
took some here, made it a little because it was pretty straight, you know. And like a lot of this stuff, like a lot of this stuff is really big in the back and really curves down.
Yeah.
So I'm like, we could probably get a little closer to this zone. That's cool.
It does a really great job of almost hiding technology, but still showing it.
That was
Like, really
we
well.
wanted to reveal it without being obnoxious. And that's
Yeah.
kind of there's details in the sole that like are personal to him, which is
Yep,
great, but
I
it's
see
not
that.
obnoxious, right? That was,
Yeah.
And same like when we were talking about adding tech, it's the slider of like you can go really crazy.
Yeah.
It's a very ambiguous term, tech, right?
Right.
But I think like Andrew did a really good job just kind of rooting this in a wearable item that has like a really thoughtful platform, right? I think it's a shoe that I don't know. I was watching everyone wear them during the sales meeting. And all different types of pants, all different types of styles,
Yeah.
and it just kind of blends in really well
Yeah.
across the board. So yeah, I'm really happy with how that kind of universal look kind of worked out for everybody.
I noticed the top eye stay wouldn't hold a diamond stud very well.
It might. It definitely would have.
Which was
No,
the number one asked question is,
No, I'm gonna put a fat diamond. A real one. No, but imagine like the earring back. You know, it has the little part you can screw on the back. Yeah.
so you could do it yourself. Do DIY diamond studs. Right?
Yeah.
I think that's about it. I think, did we wrap it all up?
Probably got a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot.
It's a 10-minute video.
I know, exactly. No, man, I think that's it.
Thank you so much. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
I'm glad you guys had me out here. This is amazing. Man, super awesome journey. I mean, even just watching the journey from outside, watching you guys go through it, it's been super exciting. So,
Yeah, it's pretty amazing to stop and reflect on it. It's great. It's really exciting.
So, thank you.
Word. Thank you guys. Peace.